All right, hey guys, I'm back. I want to do a couple things today and kind of show some of the stuff that I've done since yesterday. So, I'm working on my registration screen here, and one of the things that I've set up here that I think is kind of cool is the ability to switch between dark mode and light mode. Honestly, I'm doing that probably more for myself than anybody else because having to stare at this so much as I work on it, if it was the bright mode all the time, it would probably hurt my eyes. I have kind of issues with my eyes staring at a computer screen too much. But I have a keyboard shortcut on my Mac where I can switch between those things, and you can see how it just responds to that. I'll probably add a toggle in the settings for individual users if they want to set one or the other eventually. But I've kind of scratched everything, starting here from scratch with a new account, new database, and I want to talk about billing today. So let me create an account. All right, pick a color. Let's see, fuchsia. Why not? Okay. And then for an accent font, I'll just use the default. Uh-oh. Looks like I need to do this again. Do this again. Okay, so we have our link that is sent. So let me go to my email here and find that link and open that link. And here we are. Ooh. What is going on there? Okay, that was just, I had fixed, one of the things I've done is I fixed this drop down because before, for whatever reason, the logout link was jogged to the right and I could not figure out what was going on, and I had to rebuild the whole thing from scratch. And so that was just that. Okay, so let's go to our settings, and I want to talk about billing. Actually, let me add a profile picture because seeing my initials there in okay, so let's go to billing. All right, so this is just a Stripe test number. This is not a real number. And I want to talk about how this works right now and all that has gone into this. Any valid date would work here. We are United States. Any valid number there. Okay, so currently, these are the subscriptions that I'm planning. My plan is for this product, Congregation Hub, to be freemium and for a lot of it to be completely free. Like, I want it to be extremely useful to people without them having to spend a penny. Okay. But obviously, I'm trying to make money on this. Obviously, the goal is for me to make money. Now, I've already built the plumbing of this. This all works with Stripe, so I can actually start and stop subscriptions. This morning, I created a webhook and things that happened if the card is off, the card expires, or that sort of thing. So all of that kind of stuff is done. And now I want to think through from a standpoint, I want to think through what I'm charging for this. Okay, so my initial thought was just annual subscriptions, $150 for text messaging, $150 for websites, and $75 for sermons. I don't know that that's going to be what I stick with. And I want to kind of work through that in this video. And so I think I'm going to jump into Obsidian, and I think I will go to a new drawing. Let me see here. Create a new drawing. Okay, and I think we're gonna make just talk about pricing. So this is what pricing. Okay. So, yeah, that's huge. Okay, so right now, what I have is I have $150 per year for messaging, $150 per year for websites, and then $75 per year for sermons. This is my current, what I have set up right now. And I want to talk about how that compares to other things, and then why I might change that, and how I might change that. Because goals, if we're talking about goals, right? My goal is obviously to be a blessing to churches, right? So I want to be a blessing to churches, and I want to be a blessing to smaller churches too. Like I pastor a smaller church, less than 100 most Sundays, and so I have a heart for that. That's where I've been in for the last 13 years, and I want this to be a blessing to those churches and not to be cost prohibitive to those churches. But I also think that I want it to be useful enough that churches would be willing to pay for it. Okay, because let's be honest, a second goal of this is to make some money, right? To supplement my income as a pastor. I have 5 kids. I want it to pay me some money, obviously. And so, is this the best way to do this? Think about it like this. All right. So, let's talk about cost. And I'm going to share, some insider baseball for you. Okay. So let me bring this over here, and I'll make one that's called cost. All right, so the cost of messaging. Okay, every church, because of something called 10DLC regulations, requires it to have its own unique number. Okay. And then to set that number up, it costs me, well, let's go and I'll just go to, I use a company called Telnex for this, and I'm going to go to their pricing page, and let's look at global numbers, okay, United States, local numbers from $1 a month. Okay, so I think it's like $1.50 a month for this, for this number. Okay, so that is just the base price, right? $1.50 a month. But to set that number up with these 10 DLC regulations, that cost me about $10. So I'll just go back up here and do it like this. And that's a one-time thing. So $10, this is per month. All right, and then we're talking about messaging cost here. And then if we go back here and we look at the pricing for the messaging API, because that's what we're using, and we're using a local 10DLC number in the United States, our cost is 0.004 per message part for SMS. Okay, so this is just like a regular text message. If it's a long message, it's broken up into 2, and so it's double that cost. So let's work that out. So what does that look like? All right, so I'm paying 0.004 cents per message part. Could be per message, could be per message part. All right, so let's say that a church sends an average of 1,000 messages. Okay, what's that? 1,000 times 0.004. That cost me $4. So $4 a month is my cost for that. Okay. plus the $1.50 a month. So we're going to say, let's just round up to, it costs me $6 per month. And then we'll add another $2 for setup. So we'll just say my cost for this is $8 per month. Okay. Then you add hosting, my hosting costs for Congregation Hub. Well, let's just say $50 a month. Okay, it's probably more than that, but that is not per church. That's overall. That's my hosting for just the app. Okay, let's say $50 a month. That's actually probably higher than that. Let's say $100 a month. Okay, so how do we make this profitable? Like, this is what we're trying to think of here. How do I build this and make it profitable? Let's say that at $8 a month, that's $96. So that means if somebody signs up and they just sign up for messaging, okay, I am making less than $56 per year for that church. Okay. Now, let's say my goal is to get my income. Let's say my goal is, let's make us say $2,500 a month. Okay. So this isn't $56 a month. This is $56 a year. Okay. And so let's just say $60 a year. All right. Because that's an easy number to work with. Okay. What's 60 divided by 12? 5. So I am making, at this price point, $5 per month per church. Okay? To get to $2,500 a month, that means I need, let's see, $2,500 divided by 5. I need 500 churches paying for this. Okay? That's a lot to get to $2,500 a month. Okay? A lot to get to $2,500 a month. And so, do I want to do annual pricing? Do I want to raise this up? Let's say let's look at what other things cost. Okay? So let's go to some of these. Let's go to Church Track because they published their pricing, and we can go to their pricing page. And their how many individuals? Let's just go to 125. Okay, so they're $33 a month at $125. $33 a month. So we'll say, and this is at this church size, this is names, this isn't attendees. So very likely it could be $51 a month is what it could end up being for that. And they're probably the most inexpensive. Okay. So that's if we at that year out a year, it says $29.50 a month when paid annually. So what is that? $29.50 times 12, it's $354 a year. More than double what I'm charging. Okay. So just put this here. This is $354 per year for messaging. All right, let's look at another one. Let's look at Breeze. Breeze is a great company. I know lots of people that work there. Got nothing against the people at Breeze, besides their site's not pulling up. CHMS pricing. Okay, so Breeze is $72 per month. Okay, let's throw that way. This is Breeze. All right, so what is $72 times 12 is $864 per year. So Breeze is more than double what Church Track is. Okay, let's do one more. Let's look at Planning Center, because this is probably the third. I don't know. There's one called Text in Church, isn't there? So Text in Church. Text in Church, number one church texting service, pricing. Okay, so 1,500 texts a month for Text in Church. And that is $56 a month. So we'll go here, we'll pull this in. $56 a month times 12, $672 a year. All right, so what is this telling me? Look, if I double this price, if I say $300 a year, okay, I am still cheaper than every one of these guys, okay, and I, at that point, to get to the $2,500 a month that I'm looking for, I only need 250 churches, okay? But I actually want to do something different, I think. I think what I want to do is, what if I say $25 a month? So $25 per month. And the reason I want month is because my billing, my prices, my cost is monthly. It's not annual. And I think people are used to paying monthly for a cell phone bill. They're used to paying monthly for things like that. And so $25 a month, that puts me at 25 times 12. That puts me at $300 a year. I still think that that's probably reasonable. And if, let's say, there's 10 people signing up, well, that's still a couple $100 a month. That's worth continuing with me as a single developer. If there's 20 times, let's say, that gives me, well, if there's 150, let's say $60 costs per year. Yeah, this is a profit per year at this price. So if I am doing $25 a month, 8 times, so what is this? That would be 8 times 12. That's 96, right? Mine, so 96. So this would be 300 minus 8 times 12. And that should equal, so 300 minus 96, that would be 204. So that's 204. 204 per year. Still reasonably, I think that's a reasonable price for text messaging. Okay. Let's talk about sermons cost. Okay, I don't think I'm going to change the sermons cost, but how can I make this make sense to people? I think we could go to like sermonaudio.com, which is probably the biggest. I love Sermon Audio, by the way. I'm not a hater of Sermon Audio at all. Okay, but where is the services, about us. Okay, if I click broadcast with us, become a broadcaster. I just want the cost. I just want the cost of this. I believe it's like $50 a month, or $60 a month. Let me just get sermon audio cost. Broadcaster overview. Okay, so where was that? $60 a month right now. Okay, so this is Sermon Audio's cost. This is Is anybody watching this? 2 viewers. Okay. If you want to like, how many viewers would you want to have a goal? Yeah. My goal is to make $2,500 a month. So that's my goal. That's sort of the baseline that replaces the income that I'm getting from a buyout from my old company, and makes it so my wife doesn't have to work. That's my goal. I'm still new at this streaming thing, by the way, obviously. So, yeah. So, anyways, let's go back to the website here. All right. So we got our billing settings. So that's why this might change. A lot of thought has to go into this, and I just wanted to kind of explain. You know, right now, I like the way this works. There's different packages that handle subscriptions. Laravel, which is the framework that I've used, the PHP framework that I've used for years, has something called Spark that's sort of built in, and Cashier. I went and I built this all from scratch because I wanted to understand how it worked, and also because I wanted to be able to kind of offer this freemium model. One of the reasons why the freemium model is important to me is because I took a missions trip this year, and I fell in love with some of these churches in Africa, and I want them to get value from something like this without, and churches around the world, without having to necessarily pay for all of these different features. And so that was one of the reasons why I'm thinking about breaking this up as we think about it. All right. There's one other thing I wanted to do today. I'm going to move on from the billing. I'm not going to come to an answer today on that. But one other thing I wanted to do is kind of play with the CSS. So if anybody's interested in watching me code, I know that's probably the most boring thing in the world. It can't be more boring than talking about pricing. But I was looking at Basecamp. Let me sign into Basecamp. Hopefully, okay. I was looking at Basecamp, and one of the things that's cool on Basecamp is I like the way that they have this sort of one color background, and I like the way that the menu looks up here and how it works on mobile. I think it's kind of ugly. They've sort of always had this sort of ugly aesthetic, but I like the way the menu works. And then when you make it down, bring it down to a mobile size, it just sort of shrinks and stacks instead of doing the hamburger menu. So on mine currently, if we go to billing settings, I've got this sort of white bar across the top, and it's constrained to the middle. But if I shrink down, I've got the hamburger menu to get to that menu, and I kind of like, I want to try to see if I can switch to something like the Basecamp. So I wanted to play around with the CSS for a little bit and see what works there. By the way, best sparkling water, Kirkland Signature from Costco. Drink like a case of that just by myself every month. Okay, so let me go into code here. And so the way I have this working right now on the CSS is actually, I'm not using like a build step at all. It's literally just a bunch of CSS files. So this is my main CSS file, and I'm just importing these other CSS files, and that's it. It's probably a performance hit or something, but I think the browsers have just gotten really, really good at handling CSS. And so what I want to do is I want to go to my navigation component. This one I can delete. And I'm going to copy my navigation component, and make an old navigation component. So old navigation. So let's start, actually, let me rename this. So now I can work in navigation without really worrying. I mean, all the stuff obviously is in Git, but okay. So I've got this, and then the navigation component is also in my, let's go to resources, layout. All right, so yielding navigation. That's perfect. That's what I want. So let me go to components, navigation. Editing these. Okay, so currently I'm constraining it just in this top navigation container fluid. And I wonder if I just do this. What if I just do container fluid here and go back? What should happen is this should now take up the whole screen. Exactly. That's exactly how Basecamp works. So that is what I'm after. What if I surpassed my goal? Then I would take more mission trips. Okay. Okay. Space this out. Now what I need to do is I need to make it so that so right now I'm hiding this at, looks like 1200 pixels. So let me go here into my navigation.blade.css or navigation CSS. And it looks like what I have, actually, I guess if I'm not going to use the hamburger menu, then I can hide that. So let me go to my, let's look at this mobile nav. So I'm just going to comment this out for now. Okay, so now if I refresh, now this goes away. Okay, and what I want is I want at smaller settings these to stack and this to get much smaller. So let's go, let me open up another one of these because I like to do this. I use Vim, by the way. Okay. So I've got my desktop nav. Actually, if I'm gonna do this, I can also probably remove the whole nav, this whole overlay section here, because the goal is to not need that at all. And then over here, I can get my mobile nav overlay whole section. Delete the whole thing. I think that did it. I did something wrong. This mobile nav toggle here can definitely be deleted. All right. Top navigation. Those settings. I think there's like way too many of these brackets. This is one of the things about CSS that is kind of annoying. Like you can nest CSS now, but there's my settings. I think I might have. Yeah, that looks like that fixed it. All right, so let me get back to here. Okay. So I guess I might as well redo this. I'm gonna go to this. I'm gonna do the same thing I did earlier. Delete this one. Copy this. So that I can actually just delete this stuff. Okay, sorry I'm not talking. I'm very new to this whole thing of streaming. So what I want to do is I want to probably take the space in between these things and make them a little bit smaller. So let me find that. That would be our desktop nav. Just not a good name for it now. And currently, if it's greater than 1200 pixels, we're displaying flex. We're saying the gap is S3, or if it's greater than 1280, gap is S6. Okay, so I'm gonna actually do this. I'm gonna delete this one here altogether. I'm gonna delete this line and delete this line. All right, so this should not hide now. Okay, and it doesn't, which is perfect. This is hiding now over here though, so we need to find that, which is the settings drop down, and I'm going to just say display flex because we're not hiding that, and we're going to I always do that. Okay, so let me get back here. Okay, so these should not hide, but they need to do something. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to make them smaller on mobile. So let's say this. Let's say, okay, so this is this A has SVG inline flex. I'm going to change this to just flex because I have a feeling we're going to have to be stacking this. It shouldn't change anything. Okay. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to say that the default flex direction is column, and justify content is center. So line item center, justify content is center. Now what we're going to do is we're going to say and colon, let's say no, media, and we'll say width is greater than, let's start with 1000 pixels. So So in this case, when width is greater than 1,000 pixels, what we want to do is we want to say flex direction row. All right, now let's see how much I messed that up. That is perfect. That's exactly what I wanted right there. As far as the stacking goes, it doesn't look like it's centered though. And it's not small enough. So if we go back to Basecamp, these are like tiny. These words are tiny. Okay. So let's say, and is that, let me inspect what this looks like right now. Okay, so there is like, oh, margin to the right. So that's one of the reasons why it's not centered. So what we can do is we can say, here we're going to do SVG. And here we'll do margin right bar S1. And here, and then we'll say width bar S4, height bar S4. Here I'm going to delete this. So on, so just to explain how this works. So this is the unordered list desktop nav with a LI, so the list item with a anchor link, that's the A, okay, that has an SVG. So if there's an SVG inside it, and that's what this XTabler, it's just a shortcut for a bunch of SVG icons. So if it has that, then this is how it's to be styled, okay? But with the CSS recently, they added this nesting syntax with media queries. It's a throwback to the old Sass, if you ever used that. And you can also change the way you write media queries now, so you can just do the width is greater than this, which is wonderful. You used to have to do like min width and max width and that kind of stuff, and you don't have to do that anymore. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying this is the default, which is the mobile, and then above this size, we're targeting it again, and we're changing some things. So go back to this, and that should, it looks like now we're centered. Now we're centered, okay? And then when we get above 1,000 pixels, which should happen, okay, so it looks like that's happening already as far as the size of the icons are getting bigger. I could be wrong. And then above 1,000 pixels, and 1,000 pixels actually is the perfect size. Okay. Yeah. All right. But what I want to do is I want to make these words much smaller. So I am going to say that the default font size is extra small. Huh. It's already extra small. I don't have something smaller than extra small. So what if I go down here and I say, okay, font size here is bar text XS. So this is my text, my extra small. And then here, I need to see what my, I'm gonna go to this screen. And let me see here. CSS include sizing of fonts. Fonts. Okay. Nope, this is just the fonts. Include sizing. Oh, that's my buffers, that's why. Typography, that's it, typography. So XS is the smallest I have. So let's add one, and we'll make it 2XS. So text 2XS, and we're going to say 0.5 5 rem. That's really small. Okay. And we're going to make this here now 2XS. Okay, that is super small, super tiny, but I think for it to work, I also think it needs to be bold because it's so small. I don't know if that looks right. Okay, so we'll say font weight GHT, is that right? Bold. And okay. Also, that's too small. Let's see, can I go to like, let's change this 2XS to like maybe 0.6. Okay. And let's make the gap a little bit smaller. Okay, that's starting to look better. Okay, I feel like that could work, but this needs to be smaller. And also, I feel like maybe I need to, let me go back to my drawing that I was doing the other day. Hub, feed, people, calendar, tools. So let me go into here. And let's change this, like hub. None of these are working right now, so it doesn't really matter. Feed. People. Calendar. Tools. And I'm going to be, tools obviously is going to hide a bunch of that stuff that we had just a second ago. Oh yeah, that's way better. Hub, feed, people, calendar, tools. The icons make no sense, so let's fix that real quick. So tabler, church. There's no church one. All right, so I'm just going to go fix these icons while I am thinking about it. So tabler icons, church, and this one is building church. So okay, hub, the feed is going to be this here. I am just gonna, I'm a terrible terrible Vim user because I'm using my mouse and you're not supposed to do that, but it works, so get over it. The feed, what did I have on here? Sort of this like chat bubble with a heart. So let me find that chat bubble. Heart. This one, message heart. So I'm going to change this to message heart. Okay, people is users. I've already taken that. Calendar. Change that to calendar. Check. And I wonder if there's one that's just called pools. I think there is. So let's see. Ah, that looks great. I like that. Now, it doesn't feel like it's centered. And I wonder why that is. But I do like this. This looks good. All right. Okay. So on this small mobile screen, right, why is this? I'm going to inspect this here. All right, so this UL here is I feel like this came from the Pico framework, which I love, but it adds a bunch of stuff to this that I don't love. This should be flex. Display flex, it is display flex. It looks like there's like margin to the right. I'm gonna go to here, and I'm just gonna change this to something completely different. I should have the church name anyways, so let's make this an H1, and we're gonna call this class branding, and we'll say church name. That's going to be like huge over here now. See, I told you it was going to be huge. But okay, so this top navigation, top navigation. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this is display, flex, justify content, space between. Let's see if that changes things here. No, all right. And we're going to say align center, and then I'm going to do H1. I'm going to set a width of 20 pixels just to see what that does. And then delete this. So immense and free, more than life to me. so now we don't have that and that. I just want it centered in the middle here. I know what I need to do. I need to change this from space between to center. And that's going to move everything over. Shouldn't push everything to the middle. And I need to go to my desktop nav here. I'm going to change this to main nav because it's no longer the desktop nav, it's now the main nav. Okay, and then this is already display flex. We're going to say justify content center, and we're going to say flex grow to. So this one should now grow. Grow. Okay. But it's still not in the middle. Like, I want it to be centered in the middle. And I think to do that, I have to constrain the width of these two things on the side so that we have a set width here and a set width here with something. So I'm going to go like 250 on that logo again. Okay, and then I'm going to go down to settings. Here, I'm going to say that is also width 250 pixels. And let's see what that does. See if that centers it. It should. Okay, now we're centered. And that's fine. Now I just gotta, yeah, that's what I want. But now I just gotta figure out how to make Bible Baptist Church here small. What if I just put an icon there for now? Just find some random icon I like. Hub. See if there's a hub icon of some kind. Obviously, we're going to put the logo there at some point. Cross. Yeah, let's do a cross. This doesn't seem, it seems like there's probably margin on the H1. Yeah, that's the problem. So I need to go back up to my H1 and I need to say margin bottom is 0. And also, I'm going to make this smaller. See if I can get away with 200 on these. There we go. Now we're centered. I have somebody working on a new logo, but I'm going to go ahead and grab this and save that and put that in the place of that logo up there. I don't know how it's going to look on the dark mode, but I'm going to save it to public. And then all I need to do here is go, instead of this xtabler cross, I can say img source equals / what was it? I guess I can public CFAL dot ping .png. Ah, yes, lovely. Okay, so now what I wanted. Yeah, it doesn't look terrible. The color is weird, but let's make it a better size. I'm just going to play with it here. So let's say inspect. Why is that opening there? What just happened? What just happened? Oh, this is one for tabular icons. Okay, image. So I can go here and I can say width. And we got 200 pixels to work with in there. So let's say 150 pixels. Too big. 100 pixels. Too big. 80 pixels. Still too big. 60 pixels. Getting there. 50 pixels. So I need to, yeah, it doesn't look bad. All right, so I need to go into my H1. We're going to say H1 image. Width is 50 pixels. Height, caret. Object fit contain, which I believe is the right. Okay, let's make sure that sticks. Yep. And then on. Oh, that looks much better. That looks much better. I don't know, it could still be smaller. Let's see, what if I did 45? What's the 40 pixels? Yeah, even 35. Let's do 35 pixels and then on a bigger screen, expand. So we'll say 35 pixels, and then we'll say media width is greater than 1,000 pixels. And in that case, the width is going to be 50 pixels. So that should, at about the time this okay. Now, I am going to get rid of the background. So, background color. What just happens if I do this? No, first off, it would be helpful if I okay, so Tabler has its own, or Pico has its own background color for this thing. what is the background here for my main container? So probably body. So what if I make the background color on this top navigation? Oh, that's the problem there. So, okay. And then I'm gonna get rid of the border too. Okay. This thing here is going to get simplified as well. Again, how does Basecamp do it? It's got sort of that smallish heading. I click getting started. Okay. I think I need to go to the post route here to see this in a better light. Because I want these underneath this and I want it to have no background. Centered. So let's go to components, page title. Let's do the same thing. Old page title. Link to by nothing. And then over here we'll find page title.blade.php, which should be good. All right. So section.page title, and delete this background. Okay, so now we have no background. And do we want this? Let's see. Okay, and then I'm going to center this. So justify content center. So align items center. And I'm going to say flex direction column. Hope it didn't blow that up too much. That might be all I need to do. Nope. Okay. Oh, here we go. That's the problem. So this needs to be okay. And then let me do this. Let me add, I wonder if I have to text align, send it. That's not the worst thing in the world, but I can work on that some more later. All right, I'm gonna call it a day. It's almost 11 o'clock. I need to get to church work, but it's been fun. I'm gonna keep trying to stream this and as I work on it, but I like this. I think this is moving in the right direction. Tools is going to have to be a drop down like this, but that looks clean and simple. All right, real quick, let me go to settings. User profile settings, church details, appearance, billing. Let's look at it in dark mode. Doesn't look bad. Billing, spaced out. Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. All right, thanks for watching, and I will be back again probably tomorrow.